these people, especially in the first few seasons, like just watching how miserable it is to be in an office, you may either commiserate or empathize or just be like, wow, I'm glad that's not me. But I could. Defeated by delicious fruit pie. So, hello, everybody, and welcome back to the 160th episode of Defeated by Delicious Fruit Pies. I am NEDTJ on DBDFP, Ned the Janitor, or Eric, as you have probably seen from previous episodes. And we've got a lot of great and exciting things to talk about this week. I have corporate sponsorship, and this episode is brought to you by Edible. And I'm going to talk about that in a little bit because there are some really neat things that Edible has to offer that I think that you may not know about. And I hope that that changes your mind about going to a local store near you. But also, I want to be talking about The Office because I got this lovely box set of the complete season, all seasons 1 through 9, all 201 sweet, sweet episodes. Actually, it's probably like 198 sweet, sweet episodes and then like a few not great ones. But I mean, that's pretty good. It's a pretty good record. I'll be talking about Netflix. We're going to be talking about Google, Amazon, kind of all these big YouTube even companies. Like, shh, we're not talking bad about YouTube. I guess it's like Fight Club. But we're going to be talking about all these things. So before we get started, let me start with our corporate sponsorship. So this week, the mug of the week is Bears, Beets, and Battlestar Galactica. So this way you don't even have to see the shirt because you can see the mug. It's the same picture. But inside of this vessel, there is delicious fruit and coffee smoothie from Edible. Now, if you didn't know, you might have just thought that Edible was Edible Arrangements and that had like these fruit and chocolate that was in a basket-like thing and you got that to give as a gift. And that's true, you definitely can do that. But did you also know that you can get chocolate-dipped fruit in boxes? And they look really good and they're really delicious, especially, and my favorite is the chocolate-dipped banana. Those pieces are ridiculous. If you ever want to send one to me, feel free. That's the one, the banana one. And if you get hazelnut crunch on top of it, I put a little sea salt extra because then it's like sea salt and it's sweet and salty. That's amazing. But did you know they also have Edible to Go? What is Edible to Go? Edible to Go is things like fruit smoothies, which in this one, this is blueberry, banana, and coffee with a little bit of chocolate. I love this. I got to replace my coffee of the week with this, and I'm really excited about it. If you can't tell, I got a little bit of extra energy because it was a lot of coffee in here. But they also have fruit cups that have chocolate dipped pieces of apple or pineapple or banana and also strawberries that you can have in a cup. It's like a cone and you can just kind of pick and eat. They also do fruit salads and there's just a really great atmosphere. It smells good when you go in because it smells like chocolate and fruit. Go to your local Edible store and please, patronize them and let them know that Defeated by Delicious Fruit Pies sent you. So thank you, Edible, and thank you to everybody who goes out there and checks them out on my behalf. Oh, that is a good coffee smoothie. All right, so let's get down to business. Let's talk about The Office. I'm sure none of you have heard what The Office is or what it's about, but actually, kidding aside, I bought this last week when I found out that it's not going to be on Netflix after January 1st, which might already be the news for you, that this will no longer be available on Netflix, complete seasons 1 through 9. From Netflix after January 1st of 2020. So that is a huge deal for those of you who are into binge watching your favorite shows. It would be like Grey's Anatomy just being taken off, or NYPD Blue no longer being on television for those of you who watch that sort of thing, or Law and Order just disappearing from television. It's kind of a big deal. So I went and bought this. It's awesome. It's like books inside and it has tons and tons of DVDs. There are 38 discs that have all of the seasons. It's hard media, so it can't be taken away from me. And if you noticed, and I don't know how much you follow all the news on digital stuff, which obviously, that's why you come here, to find out all of these digital things, right? No. Check out other channels to get all of the latest things that happen in the news. But recently, there was an issue with Doom being released by Bethesda. So they released Doom 1, 2, and 3 on the Switch and on the PlayStation and on the Xbox. And one of the things that happened was the previous version of Doom was being deleted from people's Xboxes. That can't happen when you have the hard media. They can't take it away from you if it's physical. So, I really wanted to have this, but it got me thinking. I was talking about The Office to a lot of people, and there are people who have never seen this show. I know. That's weird, right? But that's honestly, that's millions and millions of people. And it's probably some of you who are out there because, and honestly, I understand why. I didn't watch The Office for a long time, probably until season 8 was about to get started. And the reason why was because, number one, it was kind of cringy. Cringe humor was kind of new. It wasn't, Parks and Recreation wasn't out when this started. This really piloted and pioneered awkward humor for Americans, at least. Like, I mean, obviously, like, Are You Being Served and Keeping Up Appearances and other shows like that in England had a lot of really awkward humor, and they had been capitalizing on that for a long time. So when The Office with Ricky Gervais came out for in England, it made a lot of sense, and the awful boss and the cringiness of those episodes was very palatable, probably to that audience. So when it came to America, though, it was trailblazing because comedy up to that point was, I mean, honestly just not really funny for a while. But also, it wasn't awkward humor. Awkward humor was not really this big genre like it is now. So I didn't want to watch it. I didn't get into it. And the other thing that happens that a lot of people have told me about that I agree with was they didn't want to jump on a bandwagon. They didn't want to talk about, oh, The Office every week. Oh, do you know what happened with Jim and Pam? So this happened a lot for people that they didn't want to be seen as like watching this show that was kind of popular. It was at a weird time, and it was just, for a lot of reasons, it might not have been for you. And so then I tried to watch it, and it took me a few times because the awkwardness is not just rough in the first season, it's almost unbearable. And even compared to the rest of the series, season 2 is a little bit still like that, but not nearly as bad as the first 6 episodes. The first 6 episodes make you feel cringy, but also like bad sometimes. Just that Michael Scott is such a jerk. Like, he treats these people so badly, and he's so delusional, but then like also he's a jerk on purpose, and he knows exactly what he's doing and trying to get away with. Even if it's like transparent, he just blatantly is going to manipulate these people and get what he wants, which is obviously not in the best interest of the people in the office. So, and he looks really like sleek hair that goes back all the way. It's so bad. It's so rough to watch. If you can get through those first 6 episodes and maybe a couple of episodes in season 2, it is worth it, I promise. And there are a lot of reasons for this. So I want to go through a list of reasons why, and you can chime in the comments section too about like why you would like The Office or what you like about The Office. But there's some categories that I put up for shows that I actually watch more than a couple of seasons of. So, and don't get me wrong, I have given some leeway to this show that I have not for other shows. And I'll get into why, because there's a lot more pros than cons versus a lot of shows. So the first thing about The Office that you need to know, and again, you can agree or disagree on this or the comments later on, is that the show doesn't have a jump the shark moment in the first 4 or 5 seasons. That's huge. Most seasons have either people die in season 2 or 3, and then they come back to life in season 3 or 4, or they have, everybody has superpowers. I mean, see Smallville, see Roswell. I just found out they remade Roswell. That's fantastic. We needed another Roswell. It's like it really is the show that nobody asked for. But anyway, Roswell in the beginning, that first one through by season 3, like everybody had these powers and everybody knew that they were aliens and whatever. I mean, it just kind of got ridiculous that there was no secret anymore. Even Stranger Things, I gotta say, season 2, kind of bananas how that all worked out. And like this one, that kid, and I don't want to give away too many spoilers if you haven't gotten into season 3, but I don't know how this one kid keeps surviving when other people don't. And so, there's a lot of jump the shark moments on that. There's literally Happy Days, which jumped the shark, although it waited a long time to do that, but we knew that the series was over at that point. A lot of CW shows find themselves jumping the shark. Supernatural jumped the shark like 10 seasons ago. But Arrow did too. I mean, it was really bad. So jumping the shark typically happens pretty quickly. There are very few shows that don't do that. And I can think of like a lot of Star Treks never did that, but a couple did. I mean, that's my biggest problem with Voyager is that, we have this time travel thing. And that really screws a lot of things up really quickly and kind of makes the show unbelievable in a science fiction show. That's pretty rough. That's hard to do. But The Office doesn't do that. This is a show that's about real people, as ridiculous or caricature-like as some of them are. And I'll get into that in a little bit too, because some people did talk about that when we had our conversations. But before they become more caricatures of themselves, they're really just people that you would be able to relate to in an office, or you've been in an office environment where you've met people that maybe are like that, or maybe you're like one of the people and you don't want to admit that. Still good coffee smoothie. So that's a big part. It doesn't jump the shark. Number two, high quality performance in episodes. It's strong throughout. Like, so it's not all about the season premiere and the season finale. The beginning has some cliffhangers in their season finales, sure. But all in all, it really shows strong episodes throughout. This is a lot more noticeable now that you can watch it on Netflix for now and then on DVD afterward because you're going to go get it. What is jumping the shark? Wow. Okay, so jumping the shark, and again, this is great. So if you don't know what these things are, Fonzie in Happy Days jumped a shark literally with his motorcycle, and that's how you knew that the show was over. I mean, that was just ridiculous because earlier in the series he jumps a couple things with the motorcycle. He's kind of that daredevil guy, but he literally jumps over a shark with his motorcycle. And it's just this preposterous scenario. Like, why are we here? Why are we doing this? How did this happen? I feel bad. You should feel bad because it's bad. So this is a term that has been given to shows that do the same kind of ridiculous things. Like, oh, you were dead and you came back again, and then you died and then you came back again. I'm looking at you, Supernatural. But also True Blood. True Blood really did this very poorly, where like people would everybody was a vampire, and then there was like a vampire, fairy, werewolf thing. I mean, that's Twilight, right? Like, or Underworld. So these are things that like we consider jumping the shark, where it just gets so ridiculous. It's like, well, I just can't do this. So that is jumping the shark. So anyway, back to the second thing about high quality episodes throughout. You may not think that if you watch the first 6 episodes, but there's a lot of high quality things that happen in season 2, season 3, season 4, especially season 4 and 5. They're like great seasons, and then it really kind of changes a little bit. But again, high quality throughout. They're not just hinging on these end episodes. They got great ratings throughout the whole show. It kept your interest because they decided to go over multiple characters over multiple episodes. So it was impossible for them to really dive into Dwight and his backstory and what's going on with him in one season. It took a few seasons to really get to understand Dwight at all. I mean, like, you don't even find out about his beet farm until, Pam and Jim go to this overnight there for his bed and breakfast. So, agro-tourism, but it's not a bed and breakfast. But anyway, so it takes a while to get into him, but then you find out a little bit more about Stanley and Stanley's family, and you find out more about Bob Vance and from Bob Vance Refrigeration, and you get into everybody's story over time. This keeps it interesting. This keeps it fresh because it's not just over and over the same thing again and again. This is something that was a bit of a course correction from season 1 and a little bit of season 2 to season 3, where it really focused on Michael Scott almost exclusively. And you can see that where all like 60% of the interviews that are going on face to face are with Michael. That changes a lot later on, where there are entire episodes that are not about Michael. And that's great because that diversity allows the episodes to stay fresh and storylines to stay like cliffhanging, even though there's not an episode that goes by where there's not movement on a plot. So there are no dead episodes where you're like, nothing happened in this episode. And again, arguably, and you can always throw that in the comments section or email us at defeatedbydeliciousfruitpies@gmail.com. I'm happy to hear what your thoughts are on that. But they're fresh. The next thing about The Office is that it never tried to be something that it wasn't. And what do I mean by that? And again, caveat to that, and this is where I'm going to get into the caricature part. In the beginning, The Office was definitely as realistic as possible while being awkward and terrible at the same time. Struggling company, small company in Scranton, Pennsylvania, the Electric City. It's a lot of rural-ish, I mean, like urban Gogonites. Like it's people who are not like in New York City, although they have one of the offices there. But it's just very normal. They try to make it very normal. Like people who are going through things that people would deal with in an office, or like if you had a terrible jerk boss, you would relate to this show. As the show progresses, yes, it gets more and more unrealistic, and people start becoming more and more comfortable with each other as characters. So it does. I do think in a lot of ways it rides that edge of being a sitcom. The camera work and things like that start to get a little bit relaxed in terms of like they're not really. I do this, but I'll sit and watch because I've seen this show like many times over. But I'll watch and be like, now how did they get the interview in between these two scenes, or did they do it later? Because I'm not seeing that impact. That's crazy editing on their part, just looking at it as a reality show. But even minus that, they did a good job at keeping it as a reality show about The Office. It gets a little meta here and there, and especially like at the very end, it gets very meta. But that's when the show has gone full on. This is really a rom-com show. Like it just is. I mean, that's something that it turns into. It's acceptable because it's gradual, and there's still parts of it that are just ridiculous. But it starts out being really a fake reality show, more of a reality show than most reality shows, and then it moves slowly into a situational comedy and then a romantic comedy. And that's okay. I mean, but it does so, and it keeps you going. Now, had there been a season 10, I would not have watched it. Honestly. Like, I really wouldn't have. It drug on too long. It's arguably that like could have been that they got rid of the last couple seasons. Maybe it could have ended at season 5. I mean, there are a lot of arguments about that. So Seinfeld, you just brought up Seinfeld. That's a great point. And I can compare it to a Seinfeld in that every episode you could watch of Seinfeld, because it was just a standalone episode. It was the man hands episode. It was the soup Nazi episode. It was the that's not going to be good for business, that's not going to be good for anybody episode. It was the balm episode. I mean, there's so many different episodes that just are about what they're about. And The Office, it's the same thing. Like, you hear somebody talk about something and somebody mentions beats, and all of a sudden you want to go into that rant that Dwight goes into about like the most profitable beats, where he's just like, in every batch of beats, there is a group of beats that you put at the top of the pile. It's the beats that make people want to stop their car and go, I need those beats. Those are money beats. Like, that's so ridiculous. So you just get into these things, or like, that's what she said. There's so many different parts that are just not about the show. Most of the quotes are not about the show. So Bears beats Battlestar Galactica is one of the Dwight pranks in the beginning of an episode. There's another one that's just a random line, and I think it's like season 3, maybe the beginning of season 4. Where that's the one where Dwight goes, "Before I do something, I think, would a stupid person do this? And if the answer is yes, I do not do that thing." I mean, there are so many quotes that have nothing to do with the plot, and in fact, the plot just kind of drives the story forward while you get all these like comedic gold mines, like these nuggets of like hilarity, which is kind of the next point. The show isn't about what it's about. The plot's honestly kind of boring. The plot is very typical. The plot has all of the mini plots. In other words, like all the characters' storylines that it weaves throughout. Most of them, save for like Creed and maybe Toby, they're very typical. They're very tropey. It's a lot of the tropes that you would expect from shows. And we've done an entire episode on tropes. If you're listening to this on iTunes, or even if you're watching this on YouTube, you can go back in our previous episodes on iTunes and find the episode named Tropes, because we go into that. And our favorite ones are the ones that we hate the most. This show is packed with tropes. So it's not, what's compelling? Why do so many people love the series? It's not because of that. It never was. This is the backdrop through which you get to see these powerful actors do really funny stuff. And a lot of it is improv, but a lot of it's written really well. Like, there are scenes in a boardroom, like in the conference room, where you just see everybody say their part, and it's written so well. Like the CPR episode is like, there are things that happen in the show where it's not about the plot at all. Yeah, you care about the characters. Of course you care about the characters. They do a good job in writing you in these characters that you love. But it's not about the show. The show is about the funny stuff that happens every episode. It's the Dwight pranks that you see compilations of. It's the best ofs that you see on YouTube. All of that's the gold. That's what you come back for again and again and again. Every once in a while, there's a nice mix of those two, which brings me to the next point. There are multiple episodes where you watch it again and you're like, oh man, this is one of my favorite episodes. But if you wrote down a list of all your favorite episodes of the show, you would end up going like, wow, this is like at least a season's worth, maybe like a season and a half of episodes that are just like you can't live without. There's not many shows like that. The next thing that they did really well, and why this is something that you might want to purchase, is it's great backdrop for parties, for hanging out, for date night, for Netflix and chill, for just you watching yourself. You just got Ben and Jerry's and you had a bad day, and you've got, Dwight talking about his day, and all of a sudden your day's not that bad. And seeing these people, especially in the first few seasons, like just watching how miserable it is to be in an office, you may either commiserate or empathize or just be like, wow, I'm glad that's not me. But I could totally see how somebody could have a day like that. And that's great that it fits so many different things. I mean, I've had the office in the background at a New Year's party with like 35 people at the house. I've had it in the backdrop of a small gathering where we're playing Cards Against Humanity. I've had it just whenever I'm hanging out with people and we just start just talking and hanging out, and we just needed this to be on so we could watch different parts and be like, oh my God, watch this part. This is great. I've introduced this to people for the first time, like, hey, you got to watch this series. And I watch it by myself sometimes, but I'm just like, I want to put on an episode while I'm doing work. If I'm editing a video or if I'm editing my book or like things like that, it's a great thing to have in the backdrop because I don't have to pay attention to everything that's going on. It's not loud. It's not crazy. Parts are funny and you like catch like what's going to happen in one scene, but it's scene to scene to scene. So you don't have to get wrapped up in it. There are a lot of shows that are very plot heavy. Like, if Arrow was on, or if if this podcast was on, it's like, man, I got to hang on to every one of Eric's words. Like, that's not really, hopefully I'm good backdrop too. But in The Office, you really don't have to do that. You can just kind of hang out and be like, yeah, this is fun. I'll watch this, but I'm going to play Super Mario World. Or you could play Dr. Mario World, which is on the phone or your tablet, and it's also a really fun game. That's not one of my corporate sponsors, but it's a good game. It's fun. You should go get it. So anyway, those are a lot of the reasons why I think The Office specifically is a great show to own, and you're going to want to own it because Netflix is going to steal it from you. Which gets me to the second major point of this week's episode, which is Netflix, Amazon, Google, YouTube. There are a lot of awesome companies that used to be really, really awesome that just kind of suck these days. And I don't know if you've noticed this, and you probably haven't. And I want to walk through some of the reasons why these companies are not what you remember, even like 3-4 years ago. And then I want to talk about some alternatives of what we can do about that, because there's a lot you can do about it. There are actually
DBDFP double down.
Gigantic companies, and it's good competition. And some of the competition you might be surprised about because it's old competition. So the first one I want to talk about is Netflix. When I was first looking at Netflix, I was not ever gonna get an account, but I got a Netflix account because if you got a Netflix subscription and you had Xbox 360 Gold, there was an app on the 360 where you and 3 of your friends online could go into a theater, like it's like a virtual theater, and a show or movie was in a box with the curtains and everything. It looked like a movie theater. And you and your friends could sit and comment and like make noises and whatever. You could see your avatars in there making like noises and talking. And you could also talk on an Xbox Live party with people who from another state who lived elsewhere, and you could watch a movie, like a bad movie. You could watch like a really bad zombie movie or a Sharknado type movie, just an asylum film or whatever. Or you could watch a movie you actually liked, and we're like, hey, let's go watch this movie. And you could do that just with, it was like $8 a month or something for Netflix, and it was like $8 a month for Xbox Live Gold. So you got to do these two things at the same time. It was great. I mean, it was just so much fun. It didn't always work right. Sometimes people got booted. Sometimes people it was out of sync, whatever. It was really fun to do that. And that's what got me into Netflix. But what Netflix really was awesome about in the beginning was old movies, old shows, bad movies, bad shows. Like, it was a virtual gold mine for movies and shows that you either wouldn't have watched ever, or you just didn't get a chance to before, so you're going to watch it, or like you wanted to watch it again, like because you wanted to see Demolition Man again, because it's a great movie and you didn't have it on VHS anymore. It was just a really nice service. They also had DVDs and Blu-rays later, but DVDs that you could go and rent out, and there were a lot more things on DVD than there were on their digital service. So the DVDs, you were getting new movies. Like you were renting it just like you were going to a Blockbuster. This is obviously what killed Blockbuster because if a movie came out, I could just go rent it and it could just be the next thing on my queue. So it would come automatically to me. And if I got done watching it, I threw it in the thing, I sent it back to them. That was actually very effective. It was really useful to watching all the movies that were new, which, honestly, how many great new movies come out every year? That being said, then you go online and you watch all these terrible movies, and it was kind of like this free extra service that was there built into your movie rental service. So I loved that. That was just really fun. As it progressed, they started to have the new movies on the digital service, and it was really good. And you could have it signed in on your phone and on your tablet, on this Xbox, on this PlayStation, and you could have it all over the place. So the end of the PS3, end of the Xbox 360, that generation, it was just great. I mean, it was really nice to have Netflix. Netflix was there for you. It was like fun for you and your friends to watch it. Still, you could just have a party and just throw on something stupid on Netflix. And there were hundreds and hundreds of movies and shows that you could choose from. Fast forward to about 2-3 years ago. What happened with Netflix? Netflix originals, Netflix original, Netflix. It became like the poor person's HBO. And HBO became a subscription service. So, if I was going to watch Game of Thrones, which I did for the first 4 seasons, I didn't need Netflix for that. I needed HBO, and it was cheap. HBO Go was like, I don't know, $12 a month. Whereas Netflix went up in price to like $11 a month or whatever, and they started to like hold back on the digital versus the discs. I had to give up the discs, get digital only to lower the price. And now all of a sudden, there's all these different shows on Netflix that are Netflix original, which Hemlock Grove was the first one I watched, and I loved it, but talk about a show that did not survive season 2. Ouch. Like, it was really rough. Never watched Orange is the New Black. I just never got into prison shows. I didn't really like any jail shows. But there were only a few. And House of Cards was like really well done, critically acclaimed, awesome. And then the Marvel shows started to come out. And the first season of all of those, minus Iron Fist, was really good. And so there was all of these reasons to keep my subscription. Because every once in a while I was like, maybe I'll cancel it. It's kind of expensive, whatever. I don't need this. Like I can rent these things or I can buy these things for cheaper. But their horror movie selection was still pretty good. And they had all these Marvel shows. Well, Stranger Things is probably the only thing left for me on Netflix. But then I saw that they have like Grey's Anatomy, they have The Office, they have these other shows. But then they're telling me, hey, you have to go buy a DVD box set. And I'm like, that's going to be super expensive. Turns out it's not. And I'll get into that in a little bit too with our next competitor. But it just really isn't what it used to be. It really doesn't have a lot of great selection. You can't watch all of the Friday the 13th movies. You can't watch all the Nightmare on Elm Street movies. You can't watch all the Halloween movies. I mean, it's already almost August. This is when I start watching all of the horror movies. Like, they could have every Romero movie. They could. I mean, they're spending millions and millions of dollars on Marvel movies, but they can't get their horror movie act together. They're the cheapest genre of movies, by the way, to have, besides like maybe like old fantasy movies. But they couldn't even be bothered to get complete series of movies. That's just terrible, and they're always more than a season behind on other shows like Ash versus the Evil Dead. It was always like a year plus behind. And where's the X-Files new episodes on Netflix? I had to get the box set of that on DVD too, which I gave away to my dear friend Steve. Steve, if you're watching this, you better still have that box set. It's beautiful, and it has every episode and the first movie. It's just a really good box set, and that was really expensive. But so what am I doing with Netflix now? Stranger Things had like a whole like 8 episodes. I mean, I could probably just buy it when it comes out, and that's cheaper than a year of Netflix. And I mean, yeah, you can download episodes, that's okay, but like there's not a lot I'd want to watch. The selection is so poor. And again, I'm comparing this to 9 years ago. God, it's been so long. But like when Left 4 Dead 1 came out, I had Netflix. So you got to imagine Left 4 Dead 2 has been around for 10 years. So it's been like, 12, 13 years since I've started my Netflix subscription, and it's just declined and declined and declined. So then there's these competitors that came out. Amazon Prime. Hulu has always sucked. Just FYI, I hate commercials, and I am not ever going to use a subscription service that has commercials built in. That is just stupid, which is also why YouTube sucks now too, but I'll get into that in a minute. But Netflix, just continually got worse and worse. Amazon Prime started out pretty well, and then it just immediately dropped off with like the quality of shows. I mean, they're all basically the same now. Fear the Walking Dead was a great series. That's gone. That's basically you have to just go buy episodes on Xbox or like PlayStation or whatever. So there's all these different streaming services that just got immediately bad and didn't really compete well with Netflix. So now, what are your streaming service options? HBO, Netflix, Disney, Marvel, whatever, and all these other things. It's starting to get piecemealed out the same way as Bravo and Stars and HBO all were their own subscription services. And what I have a feeling is that what we're going to end up with is one or two companies consolidating all of these different streaming services and offering them to you for the low price of $100 a month. Whee! This is getting ridiculous. Just get it together, Netflix. Become competitive again. Get the old movies, the good movies, the bad movies, the ugly movies. Get the good, the bad, and the ugly on there. Maybe that is. I haven't checked. I love Eastwood, though. But get The Office back, because now that The Office is going to be going out, you could be sure that other popular, expensive series that are not Netflix originals are going to be soon to follow. And really what that means is Netflix is no longer trying to be a video rental service and a video streaming service. They're trying to be a platform and a publisher, like an HBO. That's no good. Prime's not any better, and now what are we left with? So, honestly, just think about canceling your Netflix. I'm sure you're probably using somebody else's Netflix anyway, let's be real, but that's illegal now, so stop that. And I don't endorse that in any way, shape, or form. Don't do drugs. Let's get on to the next thing. The next part that I want to talk about is Amazon itself. Because speaking of The Office, I wanted to buy the complete series, potentially. I wasn't going to buy it if it was really expensive. And I wasn't going to sail the high seas. Sorry, guys. Like, I haven't done that in a long time. I've never done that. So I'm not going to go and get this. When I looked at this, I was like, wow. And it was pretty expensive on Amazon. It was something like $67, $68. I'm like, oh, that's rough. But it's not as bad as I thought, because it is 201 episodes. That's really, really cheap for a series. Granted, there's no special effects. It's been out for a long time, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, yada, 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 speaking of Seinfeld. Then I looked for other prices, because Amazon right out of the gate was just like, boom, it's like 60 some bucks, buy it, Prime, you can get it, free shipping, blah, 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 get it in 1 or 2 days. We already knew you were going to order it. It's already at your door. It's not Domino's, it's us. We're stalking you. We knew before because you talked about it on your phone, and anyway. So then I looked elsewhere, and Walmart, of all places, had it for like
DBDFP double
$20 cheaper.
down.
Like,
Down.
it's still going on. You can get it for like $48 at Walmart. And this is why I'm saying you're welcome for this public service announcement that you can go and get The Office complete series on DVD before it goes off on Netflix, because I guarantee the price goes up when you can't watch it anymore on stream. You can get this for $48 at Walmart online. It got delivered to me in like 3 or 4 days. Like, this is insane. I never would have thought to go on Walmart to look for things that aren't like Walmart things, like the stuff that you would get at the actual store. But oddly enough, I looked at a lot of things that are more competitive at Walmart, even if it's a couple bucks, versus Amazon. Because I'm so used to going on Amazon to look things up that I was just like, oh crap, like, this is expensive. I think I'll look somewhere else. I've probably been getting ripped off by Amazon for at least a year, maybe a year and a half. And Prime is really expensive. And what do you get with Prime? Oh, free shipping. I mean, like, Target offers free shipping. Walmart offers free shipping. Best Buy offers free shipping. So what are you really getting from Amazon anymore? Oh, 2-day shipping. Except for I got Joy-Cons for the Nintendo Switch that were neon yellow, and it took 2.5 weeks to get them. Yes, it was 2-day shipping, but the handling part was 2.5 weeks, and it didn't say out of stock, but after I ordered it, it's like, oh, this might come back in stock soon. I'm like, really, dude? Really? So that's Amazon these days. Check for yourself. Go back in, and when you search to buy things, hold the phone, literally hold the phone in your hand, make a new tab, go look somewhere else for what you're trying to buy, and compare it to Amazon. Check Best Buy if it's electronics, check Newegg if it's electronics, check Walmart if it's something for your home, or if it's something like a toy or something for entertainment. If it's furniture, check Overstock, check Target. Check these different websites, big websites. I'm not talking like mom and pop shops, like don't go on Alibaba or anything. I mean, you can, but like, it's not all just eBay. Like, we're talking your other big box stores are quite competitive with Amazon. And you probably aren't thinking about that because you're just so used to using Amazon, and you're like, gotta get my Prime shipping, I already paid for it. Another thing I'm probably canceling this year is my Amazon Prime. I'm not spending another $100 on it. It's ridiculous. So let's go to the next one. Google. Oh, Google. I remember for years and years and years, and still kind of do, we would always make fun of Bing because it's just awful. It's like, oh, you're going to Bing that. Like, this is a terrible search engine with bad results. And, it's like going on to Ask Jeeves and trying to search something. Remember Ask Jeeves? They used to be like the best, but now it's just really, it leads to other sites that have listings. It's really, really poor. But I was searching for things on Google and I was getting like no relevant search results. Like literally, like I was typing in 2 or 3 words and it was coming up no search results found. Then I go on to Yahoo and I had pages and pages and pages of search results. Are all of them super relevant? No. But my default browser search engine now is Yahoo on my browser, on my Chrome, because Google has been getting really crappy results for me. It's add, 1 legitimate result, 2 legitimate result, add, or just nothing. It's like literally redirecting you from relevant search results. And this is even worse. So Google is the #1 search engine, right? YouTube is the #2. And I think Facebook is #3. Those two might be mixed up. But whatever. The top 3 search engines are Google, Facebook, and YouTube. YouTube's owned by Google, but it's still a separate search engine. And what I'm finding is I could search for almost the exact term on YouTube, and I'm not getting videos that I know exist. Like, I know for a fact exist. And I'm just not getting them. So what's going on? Like, how is this happening? How am I searching for things on Google and it's not coming up with any results? It failed to a search engine, the largest search engine on earth, failed to find anything? I find that hard to believe. Very hard to believe. If I know more or like my friend knows more information about something that I mentioned in passing than the most powerful search engine on earth, don't you think that's a little weird? Just saying. So you have that, and then you have on YouTube, you're not getting these videos, and you're searching for these things, and it's just not coming up, even if it's almost word for word. So with all of that going on, what do we do about that? Really, what do we do about that? It's like Twitter. Twitter sucks. I mean, I've always disliked Twitter, but I like posting things on Twitter, tweeting about what's going to happen this episode, like the title, and we're going to be on. And that's why some of you are even here right now, because you've seen that, we're going to be on at 7 o'clock Eastern Standard, or 7:30 if I'm running late. Sorry, not sorry. I don't always have a caffeinated smoothie, okay? I can't always run here and get this stuff done and then get the videos set up and be like, oh, all right, let's do our corporate sponsorship that we never had before, and then let's talk crap about Netflix. I can't always do that, but I'll try. I'll try to talk crap about Netflix and get caffeinated smoothies. If I got blueberry in my teeth, just tell me. Look at it. Look at it. So I want to give out some alternatives for those different things. So for Amazon, for YouTube, for Twitter, and for Google. And this is just food for thought. And you guys can post your own stuff in there, and you can let me know what you think. And maybe you have some different suggestions on there too. Walmart has very little markup. Yeah, I mean, definitely. So I would honestly always check Walmart. When you search for something on Amazon, always check Walmart. If it's something a little higher end, also check Target. If it's a video game, always check GameStop. GameStop honestly has awesome online deals. And if you're a pro member, which is honestly really cheap, you really get trade-in value and some other good stuff. And if you're using Ebates or Honey or like one of those like overlay programs that gives you a discount or a rebate, you often will find that GameStop, after a rebate or an additional discount or a sale from a flyer that's online that you can like cash in, you'll save like 5 to 15, maybe even 20% off of what Amazon is going to offer you. Like, I'm not kidding. GameStop could be a lot cheaper than Amazon. Didn't used to be that way. And here's why. I found this out. This is a dirty little secret. GameStop used proprietary software that Amazon developed for their online shopping. So they were using the exact programming. They bought it, they leased it, licensed it from Amazon. And Amazon, knowing the code, was able to read the back end code from GameStop's online stores and automatically change the pricing. Every time GameStop lowered the price, Amazon would lower it to be more competitive. This was going on for so long that not only did GameStop sue Amazon because they were getting chiseled, but also they stopped using their proprietary coding, and it was a really big hoopla. But yeah, so use GameStop now because they can be more competitive, and they, honestly, support GameStop. I could do a whole episode on GameStop, and I will probably. Get back to me, comment or email me, defeatedbydeliciousfruitpies@gmail.com, if you'd like me to get into what my thoughts are about GameStop in general, because I it's important. I actually think GameStop is extremely important for the gaming world and for the quality of the gaming culture and the industry at large. It's the same as not the same, similar to what I was talking about with E3. GameStop doesn't create hype, although that's one of the functions that it has. But it's not just like E3. Like all E3 does is inform and make hype. It's the hype train. GameStop services the gaming community in a lot of other ways that I think are extremely important, and we really need to save GameStop kind of from itself even. I don't know how we're going to do that, but I'll do another episode on that at another time because I think that's very interesting. And I know other people have talked about it before, but I've never heard anybody talk about the things that I want to say about it. So we'll get into that at another time. But check them out. Check out Walmart. Check out Newegg if you're getting hardware. So Newegg.com is, if you don't know, which you probably do, but it's a refurb place that sells some used, some new, but refurb mostly. Refurbished computers and laptops and tablets and things. And it's great. It's just a great site to get cheap hardware. And sometimes they sell other stuff, but their hardware is really good and their RAM is really good. So check those things out. What do we do about Google as a search engine? If you don't want to be bombarded with like 8 ads and 2 relevant search terms or results coming up when you search for something, maybe you'll check into Yahoo. Maybe you'll give them a little love. Maybe we can find out how to communicate with them and get them to improve. Maybe do some things that you used to like that Google did, and maybe Yahoo could do that too. Not gonna lie, I've used Bing. I really have. And what is the harm in you using Yahoo and Bing and Google to make sure that you find something that you're looking for? Like, honestly, why is that so hard? It's not like your phone has that much trouble opening up a new window and searching for something. It really doesn't. So don't just get into lockstep with something that you're used to. Remember, like Google used to have like Google Earth was new. It was like a side project and it loved its employees, and their motto was do no evil or don't do evil, don't be evil, something like that. They actually took that motto away. That's not their motto anymore. So apparently it's not don't be evil. I'm not going to speculate what that means that they want to do, but I'm just saying that that's not really their value system anymore. So try it out. Try some different search engines. Honestly, you'll be surprised. Like there's going to be some weird differences, and maybe it'll be very much similar, and you could switch over and de-Googlefy yourself. There's a YouTube video out right now on how to de-Google, like how to get Google out of your life. And so you can check that out. Just search for that in YouTube for now until it's no longer searchable. What do we do about YouTube? So I'm on YouTube right now, but I won't always be. So I also will move on to things like DLive and BitChute. I've made a BitChute account, and that automatically backs up your YouTube videos onto BitChute. So there are a lot of things that we can do as consumers of this media where you're not using YouTube. And I encourage you to. Why not? Check it out. Check out DLive. It's fun. It's a live streaming service. It's kind of like an alternative to Twitch. But they have videos and stuff that it saves as well, just like YouTube. And you don't have to be on YouTube to find videos of things. There's Vimeo, there's BitChute. Like these are programs that you can look at. Also, for your favorite creators, I'm going to be one of them, but even though I'm not right now, I do encourage you. If they have a Patreon, maybe you use their Patreon. But a lot of people are moving away from that too because they suck too now. And Subscribestar is where I'm putting all of my stuff in the future. And that paywall really helps because it's a direct link of you to your favorite creators. Then what you can do is share your favorite creators' work with other people, like, in real life. So whether that's like, oh, I'm going to send you a link to DBDFP so you can check this out. Or if it's like, oh, well, I really like this. I'm going to post this on my, social media account. And I'm just going to have people look at it and whatever. If people like it, they like it. But telling people about it can help that channel grow. And we need like this outer network to protect and cultivate this online network because honestly, we're getting choked out. I mean, I see some of my videos and they have like 8, 10, 12 views for like 2 weeks until like magically they get up into thousands of views. So check out those other streaming services. You won't be sorry about that. And check out Subscribestar. Subscribestar is awesome. They are great. They do not mess around. They really help out people who are their creators. So check out all that stuff. And then for social media, instead of Twitter, there's Parler. Parler is a great social media app. It has had good success so far. It doesn't have a ton of toxicity in it. And it's just something as an alternative. Check it out. It's free. It's something that you can look at and see if you like that and get together with other people. It just had like 40,000 new users jump on, and it's just going to keep growing and growing. Competition is here. It's already here. You're not noticing it potentially. You're just not seeing it because you're not looking for it. But trust me, these big companies that used to be cool, they're either going to have to start being cool again, or they're going to go the way of the dodo because competition is going to eat them up. It doesn't take a big company to take down a big company. It takes a small company that's willing to grow and scale, that is still committed to the users, to destroy a big company. Just look at Blockbuster when Netflix was that small company. You think that can't happen to Netflix? So here's the real idea. Make a physical video store with DVDs, Blu-rays, video games like Nintendo games, Super Nintendo games, and stuff like that, VCRs to rent, DVD players to rent, video game consoles to rent, and make that physical medium come back, and that'll kill Netflix. If you have the money to do that, number one, I can't recommend that you do that, but number two, that'd be fun. I'm not going to do it, but it would be nice. And physical media, again, it'll last forever. My DVDs and my VHSs will. I get to keep enjoying them, and there's no commercials. And if YouTube keeps having more than one commercial on videos, I'm going to get off of there way sooner than I was going to, because 2 commercials per video? Come on, YouTube. I'm never subscribing to your service for a fee. Never. No paying for YouTube. Let's move that on to another service. Let me know which one is your favorite. I'll start moving on there ASAP. In the meantime, go to Edible, get your Edible to go. Thank you all for watching this week. This has been NEDTJ on DBDFP, and I am signing off for the week.
Defeated.